People have been doing Agile for, I think, over 20 years. And in that time, I think most people would say they're following Agile practices. Now, you do get some objections from people here that Agile doesn't apply to what they're doing. They seem to be always working on missiles or something like that. So let's do a check-in if you actually are doing Agile. There's 4 things you can look at it as just sort of a quick test to look at it. First, do you feel like you're minimizing risk? And mostly here, you're minimizing the risk of doing the wrong thing, sort of spending a lot of money, putting in a bunch of features, using up a lot of time, and then you have software that doesn't really seem to do what you want it to, even if that software was done of the highest quality and followed the requirements. For example, you might have thought you were going to help out people learn how to use some kind of fiber optic equipment in the field, and so you had videos available for them to watch in your app. But then it turns out that watching a video on a little phone in the field is not really very useful. Now, in Agile, you would have discovered that by releasing early versions of this and observing what people were doing and bringing that data back to validate your assumptions of what was needed. And you would have found out in your early test that it didn't work out well. And so you would have changed direction of what you were doing. And that's the second test. Are you able to not only change what features you have in your software, but to change the way the workflows, even the business is operating? If you're some sort of pharmacy or chemist, and you're used to giving out prescriptions in the store, and all of a sudden you find competitors are opening up drive-up windows or just automated machines, how quickly can you change your process? Can you add features to your software to make it possible to do business in those new ways? Now, a team that's functioning at a high Agile level should be able to do that relatively quickly. Related to that is if you go talk with the developers, or even better, the teams of not only developers, but product managers and designers, do they have a good idea of what the business is? Do they know how people interact with their software, what the customers do? If you were to find any of them in the canteen or the cafeteria, or go out to lunch with them and ask them what their ideas about how they could improve the software, are those developers and other people more focused on the internals, how they could write new frameworks or use new technologies? Or do they also talk about how they could change the way the business functions, what the features in the software looks like, how pixels are moved around the screen to make the overall goal and outcome of what you're doing with that software better? Next, in this era where we are trying to care about people instead of just the outcomes that they achieve, your people should be more relaxed, even happier. They should have bigger, if you're interested in metrics, employee NPS scores, things like that. It's okay to pay attention to productivity, how much output someone has, how many activities they're doing, but really it's not the best measure of your software capabilities. Instead, what people are finding is that if you see that your development teams are happy and thriving, that you'll have the capability to make good software no matter how much activity or outputs there are. In fact, I think there's kind of a growing understanding that if you're looking at just purely the activities of development teams, you're probably going down the wrong path and you're going to end up harming your organization more than helping it when you get obsessed with people just doing stuff instead of doing something valuable. So if you've been doing Agile and you're kind of managing the way that your organization is doing software, there's all sorts of benchmarks and things you can look at. But look at those 4 to start to rate and think about how well you're doing Agile and to find ways that you can get even better at it. There's a great write-up of those by one of my coworkers. You can click on a link up here, down there, wherever it may be. And not only can you read about those 4 things, but you actually can see some anti-patterns, some things that people are doing wrong or that they could improve, and also some of the best practices that we've been doing at Pivotal Labs, now Tanzu Labs, for almost all of those 20 years, all the way back to the late 90s. So I guess all of those 20 years. So check it out and good luck. Not only improving, but really enjoying doing software in a better, more thriving way in your big organization.